Warning: the Duracell Cup Series data file you have attempted to access is out of date. Uploading current file now.
It's a brand new car from stem to stern. and it's never been raced at these speeds.
The next gen car is opportunity.
Everything is different with the exception of like the seat, the steering wheel, and your helmet.
Unknown creates excitement.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome here to the Auto Club Speedway as it plays host to our regular season finale here in Season 6 of the SR Duracell Cup Series. At the conclusion of today's 63-lap event, we're going to know the 16 drivers that will battle it out for this season's Duracell Cup Series Championship. We've already got a pretty good idea of a number of drivers that are going to be locked in regardless of what happens here today, but there's still a lot of moving pieces that could take place down in the lower half of our playoff grid. A lot could depend on drivers, whether they stay above the 30th standings in the cut line or if they make their way above the 30th standings cut line as far as our former winners. And we're running a streak right now of 4 straight races where drivers have picked up their first win of the season and subsequently put themselves in contention for a playoff position. Ali Liera at Homestead, Miami, Laura Chung at Watkins Glen, Charles Sanford a couple of weeks ago back at, I just blanked out and forgot what the track is, Bristol Dirt. Or no, I'm sorry, that's not Bristol Dirt. That was Ryan Butcher last week at Bristol Dirt. What was the track before that? Atlanta, Charles Sanford at Atlanta. So we've had 4 different winners be able to go to victory lane, and those 4 winners are all right up inside the top 25 in the point standings right now. So right now it looks like a guarantee. Charles Sanford, he's going to be playoff racing. Ryan Butcher looks like he'll be playoff racing. Ali Liera for sure going to be playoff racing. Those 3 drivers are inside the top 8. Laura Chung's a bit of a question mark. She is 25th in the point standings, but she is currently, I believe it's 19 points ahead of the cut line. As a matter of fact, let's show you the playoff grid coming into this race. The drivers that we could say for absolute certainty, based on where they're positioned in the point standings with victories: Nick Gunther, Destin Bolin, Keith Batson, Mitchell Collins, Michael Norman, Charles Sanford, Ryan Butcher, Zachary Fitzwater, Ali Liera, RJ Bishop, Will Hoer. Those drivers right there, I believe we can absolutely lock into the playoffs. Kyle Matthews and Rick Johnson, they're 21st to 23rd in points. They just got to finish up inside of the top 20. If they do that, they're going to be in the playoff races. Kyle Matthews, of course, trying to defend his championship from last season. We mentioned Laura Chung's situation, 19 points ahead of the cut line, so she would need to finish in at least the top 25 to secure herself a playoff spot. Quentin Moore is going to be the driver we're going to keep a close watch on here today because he is the last driver with a win inside the top 30 in the point stands, and he is 14 points ahead of the cut line coming into this one. He would need to finish, if my math is correct, inside of the top 27 in order to advance into the playoffs. And then you see Matt Haas, he is the only driver in on points. Now there are 2 things that could knock Matt Haas out of playoff contention. Number 1, we have a driver inside the top 30 in the point standings that hasn't gone to victory lane. Find victory lane here today. But also number 2, Jack Dunnard is only 1 point behind 30th in the standings, and he is 31st in points, a former winner at Phoenix. So if he moves back into the top 30 in points, that's all 16 playoff spots that could potentially be taken by race winners this season. You go back a few weeks ago, like 5-6 weeks ago, we had as many as 5 drivers. I think there was one point we had 6 drivers that could have made it into the playoffs via points, and that landscape has entirely changed. Now let's also highlight some of the other drivers that have a win that are outside the top 30 in the point standings. 2 of them are in must-win situations they might be able to, with a victory, make their way up into the top 30 in points. Joshua Osborne, right now 37th overall in points, and our Daytona 500 winner, Chris Dollerton, 38th in points. If Dollerton fails to make the playoffs, it'll be the first time in Duracell Cup Series history that the Daytona 500 winner has not advanced into the postseason. And a bad run last week, Daniel Voiles, he will not, regardless of whether he wins here tonight or not, he will not be able to make his way mathematically into the top 35 in point standings. So tough break there for our North Wilkesboro winner. That 26 team out of World NOS Racing, they're just going to be hunting for checkered flags from now till the end of the season. You know, they could obviously join Mitchell Collins, Keith Batson, Destin Boland, Nick Gunther as multi-time winners here today, but regardless of whether they win or do not, there is no mathematical way for Daniel Voiles to be able to make his way into the top 30 in the point standings. So a tough break there for that team. But now it's time to set up who has a shot, who does not, what are the scenarios. We'll look at our front row. Our Season 4 Duracell Cup Series champion, Carson Gum. He is in a must-win situation, pretty much. He's 30 points behind the 30th position in the point standings, and he doesn't have a victory. So he is in a must-win situation. Zachary Fitzwater, on the other hand, he doesn't need to win, but he certainly would like to win. He could be very aggressive today. He's currently the rookie points leader. He's 7th in overall point standings, has a victory back in Indianapolis, so he is automatically guaranteed that he will be in the playoffs this season. Rob Evans in the 65. He's 26th in the point standings. We talked about the scenario Matt Haas is in as a points leader, but not a winner. That means that Rob Evans is in a must-win situation. Matter of fact, let me take you down the list real quickly of the drivers that absolutely have to win here today to make their way into the playoffs. And these are drivers that are inside the top 30 in the point standings. Points leader Matt Haas, James Qualls, Nathan Norman, Levi McIntyre, Dylan Young, Jose Mills, Austin LaPlante, Benjamin Snyder, Noah Hendrickson, Jesse Turner, Jessica Shelton, Rob Evans, Dylan Pote, Reggie Fogelman, Ryan Brommer. Those drivers are in must-win situations. Cole Deaver, Anthony McCurry, Caleb Fogler, Samuel Ryder, and Carson Gum are below the 30th position in the standings, but they mathematically, if they win here today, can advance up into the top 30 in point standings and maybe snag a playoff position. A lot depends between them and Jack Dunnard in the 88 for that final spot in the playoffs, though. So, going to be a lot of moving pieces. I did this last week where I made a mistake mathematically of thinking that Will Goss and Zach Rogers were co-champions of the showcase race. So, at the end of this race, we will be giving you officially the playoff grid, the 16 drivers that battle for the championship. I'll try my best here in real time to figure out who's in, who is not, who's got those final positions, but you will get the official word at the end of this race, so do not worry about that. But, hey, what do you say we got our trackside? Get those famous words in motorsports. Let's go race it here today at Auto Club and determine our Season 6 playoff grid.
Drivers, start your engines!
Pace car going to make the slow crawl down pit road and lead this 42 car field out onto this 2-mile speedway / super speedway. And you will see on the right side of your screen today's 42 car starting lineup. Only one former winner here at Auto Club in the field today. In Season 3, Jesse Turner picking up the checkered flag. This track has been the venue of drivers getting their first career wins. Casey Nanico got his very first win back in Season 2, and Stephen Pollard III, the defending winner of this race. SP3, of course, his victory here at Auto Club pretty much locked in the 09 team into the playoffs, following up Kyle Matthews' then win earlier on that year at Martinsville. And the rest was history. The 09 team eventually went on to win the Duracell Cup Series championship. We've run only one other racetrack that is 2 miles in length previously this season. That was back early on in the year at Manassas. Mitchell Collins was the winner of that race. So do we keep an eye on driver number 33 here today to maybe double down at the 2-mile racetracks, get his 3rd win on the year, and possibly tie Nick Gunther, Destin Boland for the number 1 seed in this season's Duracell Cup Series playoffs? There's a lot of questions, and they're about to be answered at the end of this 63-lap event. Carson Gum brings us down into the restart zone, and we're racing at Auto Club Speedway. Auto Club. Very wide, very spacious, about 5 lanes down the straightaway, 4 lanes through the corners. They were 3 wide, several rows deep, and still are here at turn 3, as Zachary Fitzwater swung around the top side of Carson Gum. And Fitzwater will come around and he will lead the first lap of the day here in California. Zachary Fitzwater also leading the rookie points, as we alluded to moments ago. And when I say leading, I should say dominating the rookie point standings, as he is 18 points right now ahead of his next competitor, Destin Bolin. Dylan Young in the 2-car. Must-win situation for him to advance into the playoffs. And he'll peek to the inside on Zachary Fitzwater. There is Ryan Butcher, last week's winner from Bristol Dirt. He's now going to go playoff racing because of that checkered flag, and he wants more, as he's looking for the top spot. Runs right down that white line in the front straightaway. Shows the nose on Dylan Young into turn 1. He'll have the shorter way around the racetrack, not necessarily the faster way, but he's going to make it work. He'll put his 3M Toyota Camry to the race lead. Here comes Jose Mills in the 38. Must-win situation for that driver. 3-time winner Destin Bolin going to go down to the bottom and take the top spot, bringing R.J. Bishop, Michael Norman, Rick Johnson along with him. That's 4 drivers right there that we know are going to battle for the championship. And there's Chris Dollerton in the 43. Must-win situation for him if he's going to make his way into the playoffs. A lot of your former winners up here right now. There's Jack Dunner, there's Will Howard, Charles Sanford, Nick Gunther. I see Keith Batson back there. While there's a host of drivers in must-win situations, a lot of the drivers that I already mentioned are already locked into the playoffs. They're kind of approaching this as a must-win situation race as well, because they want to get another 5 bonus points for another victory to move them up the ladder in terms of what seed they'd be placed in once the playoff grid is reformatted and put together at the conclusion of the day. We're 4 wide now. 1, 2, 3 rows deep. I mentioned the track is spacious, but they have to make sure they give room. They cannot be leaning on each other's doors through the corners, as that's exactly what R.J. Bishop and Keith Batson appear to be doing. I think Jessica Schultz and Destin Bolin might have been doing the same up at the front. Another lead change. Reggie Fogelman goes to the point. Now Cole Deaver takes the turn out in front. And here comes the car that won this event 1 season ago, the 09. Kyle Matthews trying to get up there to the race lead. He didn't lead that lap though. Cole Deaver got him by, well, our scoring has not updated yet to tell us. Ryan Butcher now taking it 3 wide with Dylan Young. He'll get back out in clean air. It was 13 one-thousandths of a second. They finally updated the scoring. That Cole Deaver led that lap over teammate Kyle Matthews. Here comes Dylan Poteet. 4 wide on the bottom. Poteet 27th in points. Must-win situation if he's going to be in the playoffs. And there's Quentin Moore. Mentioned we were going to keep an eye on that 89 car all day long, as well as the 88 of Jack Dunnard. Moore trying to stay in the top 30 in points. Dunnard trying to get back into the top 30 in points. And Quentin Moore would love to get himself a lap led here, bonus point if he can. Going to swing up in front of Joshua Osborne. His teammate out of Joanna Atwood Motorsports opens up the door down low for Daniel Voiles in the 26 car. I mentioned about Daniel Voiles, how he's not going to be able to get into the playoffs regardless if he wins. There's a couple more drivers that also are in that same scenario. Reese Banks, Cody Lamas, Benjamin Miles. They will not be able to be in this season's playoffs regardless of if they win here or not, as we're 4 or 5 wide. Rick Johnson and Levi McIntyre are leading on each other. We got a wreck. Big wreck. 1 car up and over, 2 cars up and over. Shelton and Johnson, as the back straightaway is littered. Oh, Lord, Chung comes flying in. Another car is flipping. I think Shelton might have gotten clobbered again. Matt Haas, the points leader, is involved. And I see damage on both the 88 of Jack Dunnard and the 89 of Quentin Moore. Ryan Butcher's damage. There's the 89, rear end damage on his car. Johnson, Chung, Shelton, Banks, Norman, all on pit road. There were only a handful of cars, maybe 8, 9 cars that got through the wreck. And Chris Dollerton was the one that led them back to the caution. Matt Haas, his fate now rests in whether Quentin Moore makes it into the top 30 or not. Levi McIntyre, Benjamin Snyder, they will not be playoff racing. Shelton, same for her. Ryan Brommer's on pit road. LaPlante, he's out of the playoff picture. Man, oh man, oh man. Well, we knew if something was going to happen, it was going to be big. It happened up towards the front. And the entire back straightaway, as spacious as it was entirely blockaded up with race cars. And drivers will take the opportunity here under our first caution of the day to come down pit road. And we're going to try and take as many looks at what happened here down the back straightaway and try and document all of who were involved. The garage area is already beginning to fill up. So there was 2 wrecks that happened. The first one started further back. This one was Qualls, McIntyre, Rick Johnson, Jessica Shelton all getting together. Oh, did you see Rob Evans in the 65 sneak through? There is the 8 of Matt Haas and then Shelton. I think she gets hit again. Or maybe that was the second time she got hit. Something happened further back behind them, though. I think Fitzwater was in the secondary. Let's go to the helicopter cam. This will give us a good look. Oh, yeah, they were 5 wide with, that's Ali Lira, Jack Dunnard, Reggie Fogelman, and the aforementioned Zach Fitzwater. The car on the outside at the time, I think, was the 89 of Quentin Moore. Dunnard gets spun around a couple of times, but actually I think the 88 might be okay. Mitchell Collins involved there. There's Anthony McCurry. There's Norman. Look at them all trying to snake their way through. McIntyre, Poteet. There's Shelton. There's Matt Haas smoking. We know James Qualls was involved. It's a question of who can continue, and more importantly, who's up to speed. Let's take another look here. Helicopter cam focus on the 02 of Shelton, because she took a couple of hard licks. Gets up into Mitchell Collins. She and Rick Johnson go up and over. You see on the left side, there's Jack Dunnard spinning towards the inside wall. I think he got through relatively okay. Oh, it's Reese Banks that clobbers Shelton afterwards. And Matt Haas almost had the wreck missed. Then he gets a piece of it also. I want to take it on board with that 65 of Rob Evans. I believe he got through that, and I'm not exactly sure how. Got a tiny bit of damage on the hood. Here's a look. Right there. Got a tiny bit of Ryan Brommer, but look at him snake his way through. Let's take another on board. I believe that the 98 of Ryan Butcher. All right, make that RJ Bishop. I don't know why I keep getting those two, their names confused. I believe he gets a tiny bit of this, but I think he gets through relatively unscathed, does RJ Bishop. Mashing the throttle, keeps it going. That's pretty minor contact. Wow, he nearly got Benjamin Snyder there, and nearly gets Cole Eber. Carson Gummer, pole sitter, just making his way through on the infield grass also. I think Anthony McCurry went for a solo spin, got through. Jesse Turner, I think, got through. Let's figure out all of who is where, who still has a shot at this. As we bring you back to live action, Chris Dollerton going to be the one to lead us back to green. William Hoer is second. Benjamin Miles, Kyle Matthews, Jesse Turner, the top 5. Rob Evans in 6th, 7th, Noah Hendrickson, Samuel Ryder 8th, Charles Sanford in 9th, Nick Gunther is 10th. Then Cody Lamas in 11th, 12th, Nathan Orman, Destin Bolin 13th, Ali Lira 14th, Caleb Fogler in 15th. And then I believe if you go down through the top 20, I'd say maybe the top 23. These are drivers that I think are still going to be up to speed. Keith Batson, RJ Bishop, Carson Gum, Jack Dunnard, Mitchell Collins, Jose Mills, Anthony McCurry, Dylan Young, James Qualls, and Zachary Fitzwater. I think they might still be up to speed. Cole Deaver's a question mark. He's 26. Joshua Osborne's a question mark. He is 27th. And Quentin Moore is going to finish 28th. Or he's going to be running 28th, I should say. He's going to finish no worse than 28th. That could be very important for the 89 car in trying to advance into the postseason. Remember, he was 14 points ahead of the cut line. And he needed to finish up inside of the top 27, I believe. So he may have a shot at this thing. Ryan Butcher out of the race included Reggie Fogelman, Austin Plant, Daniel Boyles, Dylan Pote, Ryan Brommer, Matt Haas, Reese Banks, Michael Norman, Levi McIntyre, Rick Johnson, Jessica Shelton, Benjamin Snyder, and Laura Chung, which means that Fogelman, LaPlante, Poteet, Brommer, McIntyre, Shelton, and Snyder, they will not be in the playoffs this season. The jury is still out for Matt Haas. Problem for him, though, is that both the 88 and the 89 are still running on the racetrack. Green flag back in the air. Now, another thing we will have to keep an eye on, though, is just because Jack Dunnard makes it back up into the top 30 in the point standings doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to be playoff racing. If another driver inside the top 30 in the points goes to victory lane here today, Jack Dunnard could very well get leapfrogged and be the 17th driver inside of the top 30 in the point standings with a victory. So it is not a done deal, not a guarantee as of yet. We'll wait for these cars to get up to speed and then drop back and see all of who's been able to continue but has damage and may be off the pace here, as William Hoer is going to lead his first lap of the day. Looks like we got a pack of cars back there, a pack of stragglers already. Carson Gum, Joshua Osborne, Cole Deaver, Anthony McCurry, and James Qualls. Though I'm not certain if maybe, well, I was going to say maybe the 70 is holding up this group, but it doesn't really look like any of these guys are getting that much of a run on him. So they're just hoping that maybe there's just going to be a race of attrition. More drivers will get involved in wrecks. Gum, McCurry, Qualls, and Deaver were all in must-win situations. Joshua Osborne was in a must-win situation to get his second win of the season and advance into a playoff spot. Looks like Fitzwater, yeah, that rear deck lid, rear bumper missing. He's off the pace there in 22nd. Samuel Ryder just trying to hang on to this lead group. I think from RJ Bishop on up, these are the drivers that are up to speed that have a shot of maybe winning here today. Is Dustin Bolin gonna get taken 3 wide after he took the lead into turn 3. Kyle Matthews on the inside line there. So we gave you the list of the drivers out of the race that will not be able to battle for the championship this season. Let's take a look at this lead pack and tell you the drivers that still have their hopes alive, though they are still in a must-win situation. As, hold on, we do have an update on the 89 of Quentin Moore. Quentin Moore out of the race. Engine failure just moments ago. And he will finish in the 28th position. The question is, was that enough to stay in the top 30 in points? And based on what I'm seeing, I think it might have been. Because the drivers that were behind him in points, Reggie Fogelman and Ryan Brommer, they're out of the race. The one driver ahead of him in points, Dylan Poteet, out of the race. Which means I think Quentin Moore would have advanced up to at least 27th in points. Maybe up to 26th because Laura Chung's out of the race. Maybe up to 25th because Jessica Shelton's out of the race. It all really depends on where those drivers finished in relation to Quentin Moore's DNF. But Quentin, despite being out of the race, might still be in the top 30 in the point standings. We're not certain yet. We'll have to wait and see. That's just based off of my rough mathematics, which about 80% of the time are usually wrong. Alright, so let's give you the list of the drivers right now in must-win situations that could advance into the playoffs, that are up in this lead pack and appear to be currently up to speed, and they would include Dylan Young, Chris Dollerton, Noah Hendrickson, Jesse Turner, Caleb Fogler, Jose Mills, and possibly, not 100% certain, but possibly Nathan Ormond. A lot of former winners, though, up here as well. You've got Hoer, you got Gunther, Sanford, Dunnard, Boland, Matthews is up here, Mitchell Collins, Keith Batson. So, right now, the 88 of Jack Dunnard could be in a good spot. Move into the top 30 in points and have a former winner from this season go to victory lane. That would put him in the 16th potential playoff seed. That is bad news for the driver that came into this race, the regular points leader, Matt Haas. I'm trying to remember, I think there was a time a couple of seasons ago where we had the regular season champion not advance into the playoffs because they didn't have a victory. And I'm going to be honest, I'm not 100% certain yet, but we may end up having an amended playoff format next year, just based on the fact that you really hate to see that. I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago, and I'm not showing favoritism, believe me, I'm not. But I am going to reward consistency when consistency is there. I am going to applaud it. And right now, we know that James Quall's off the pace. He's not going to be advancing into the playoffs. You know, at a point, I thought maybe Charles Sanford and Ryan Butcher weren't going to advance in the playoffs, but they both picked up victories in the last couple of weeks. But Matt Haas, I mean, look at the numbers he's got coming into this race. 6 top 5s, 11 top 10s. That's the most of any driver this season. An average finishing position of sub-15th. He has accumulated the most points in 25 races. And as things stand right now, he will not be battling for the championship. That means that a driver will not have 15 bonus points for regular season championship going into this season's postseason. That's a shame. That really is a shame. So I think it's going to be pretty safe to say, I think that there's going to be some happenings behind the scenes during the off season here between season 6 and 7 to make sure that that regular champion, regardless of if they win or not, that they are going to be advancing into the playoffs. So be sure to stay tuned during the offseason for those announcements. Carson Gum, the 19 pole sitter, must-win situation. Looks like the season 4 champ will not be battling for a second championship here in season 6, as the field's going to catch him. Charles Sanford will put him a lap down. He is going to hold up a line there too, is Carson Gum. That's Benjamin Miles, Nick Gunther, and Cody Lamas that were trapped in behind him. Top 4 get single-filed out and will pull away. Teammates out of S3 Motorsports, 1-2 crossing the line there. Sanford and Kyle Matthews, they know they're going to probably be battling each other for the championship this season. So maybe a little friendly competition right now for the top spot. Destin Boland getting a nice run there on the 33 of Mitchell Collins. He'll take it potentially 3 wide for third. That caution coming out kind of maybe shuffled things up in terms of pit strategy. These drivers will have to pit at least one more time before the conclusion of this race. We'll wait and see when they do come to pit road and try and calculate it based off of that, if that's their only pit stop of the day or if they'll have to pit late. We've had a number of races lately where drivers have had to make late pit stops, and it has definitely changed up who has won and who has not. Charles Sanford did it at Atlanta. Ryan Butcher did it just last week at Bristol Dirt, and then of course Ali Liera made the gutsy call about 4 weeks ago to not even pit at all. And picked up that win at Homestead. So we talked about Kyle Matthews. Now he is going to be in the playoffs this season, defending his championship. How about the scenario for the 28 of Caleb Fogler? Still chasing his first career win. 1/2 of the defending champions, along with Kyle Matthews. Fogler is 34th in the point standings, 21 points behind 30th in the standings, and he is in a must-win situation here today, but he is up in this lead pack. As a matter of fact, all three of the Blue Oval Automotive Fords are in this lead pack. Will Hoer, we saw him out in front for a spell. He's actually battling with Nick Gunther right now. And there is Jose Mills. 15th in overall point standing, still, believe it or not, looking for his first top 5. There are 2 drivers that still have not gotten a top 5. One is Jose Mills, who's 15th in points. The other is Benjamin Miles, who's dead last in points. And both of those drivers are up here in this lead pack. There's Miles in the Marriott Rewards Chevrolet Camaro, right behind Cody Lamas. That's 41st and 42nd in points, lined up nose to tail on the inside line right there, both looking for their first win of the season, despite the fact that it will not advance them into the playoffs. And Chris Dollerton's right there in the 43. Osborne is off the pace in the 27. So that effectively takes him out of battling for the championship this season. That leaves all the hopes of winning a second championship for Joanna Atwood Motorsports on the shoulders of Quentin Moore in the 89, who is also out of the race. And we're awaiting to see, based off of where everybody else finishes today, if 28th was enough for Quentin Moore to advance into his first playoff appearance. Again, based off my rough calculations, I believe that is about where he needed to be, especially based off of the drivers around him being out of the race. But we'll have to wait and see. He was 14 points ahead of the cut line coming into this race. He got 14 points here today with his 28th place finish. Although, did he lead a lap? Let me double check on that. Yes, he did. So he would have gotten 15 points, as Will Hoer in the 83 is on pit road. The question is this a regularly scheduled stop, or is this unscheduled? Do we start to see more drivers hit pit lane? Like he might have been the only one that pitted this time. Yep, but it does look like it's regularly scheduled. Everyone was on pit road. Let's document that. Everyone was on pit road under that only caution. So nobody stayed out. Nobody would have had to have come to pit road sooner than others. This has got to be a strategy call on the 83. Does anybody dive out of the pit lane this time? Looks like Dollerton's pretty low. I think he's coming in. Yep. So maybe a feeling that the fresh rubber is going to help in terms of lap times. The one thing I would be a little bit concerned about, though, is you're coming to pit road by your lonesome. Mentioned that this is a speedway / super speedway. You want to come down pit road with at least a few drivers, so that way you're going to have someone to draft with when you come back off of pit lane. Here's that group with Deaver, Qualls, and McCrory. They've lost Joshua Osborne. Osborne, he was able to drive away from this group, as I think Mitchell Collins in the 33 is coming pit road this time. And he's going to be joined by Dylan Young. Destin Bolin was the one that made his way past that trio of traffic to take the race lead. Charles Sanford and Jack Dunnard move into second and third. This is exactly what Jack Dunnard needed. Made it through the wreck. Well, didn't make it through the wreck. He got involved in the wreck, but he got spun down towards the inside wall, made little contact with the right front. Very minimal damage and apparently up to speed. It's like our Phoenix winner. He'll be advancing into the playoffs here if he continues to run the way he is. He's coming to pit road, as is Sanford and Boland and Gunther and Lamas and Turner, and just about most of the drivers in this lead pack have elected to come to pit road. Did anybody from the lead pack stay out? Yep, Benjamin Miles in the 25. Correct me if I'm wrong, Benjamin Miles, I think, ended up playing this same kind of strategy back in Atlanta. And he ended up getting a top 10 run as a result. I think it was top 10, or maybe it was 11th. He was right around the top 10, somewhere in that area. And he's playing the strategy again, staying out as long as he possibly can. Maybe try and catch a caution, trap some drivers a lap down. But now he's going to come to pit lane this time. Lap car of Anthony McCrory in also. Samuel Ryder had already pit. Here's maybe the battle for the race lead. Mitchell Collins, Dylan Young, Chris Dollerton. They've already completed their service. Mentioned Mitchell Collins, the only driver formerly this season that has a win at a 2-mile speedway / super speedway at Manassas. So you got to think a lot of the notes that they had from that race they brought here. Maybe this might be the exact same car. We mentioned this a lot near the beginning of the season, first year for the next gen here at the Duracell Cup Series, but with that being said, a lot of drivers would have had to have used the notes that they got from the Manassas race in preparation for this one. And remember, Michigan is where the championship gets decided at the end of the year. Another track of similar configuration. Looks like Jack Dunnard's going to be in the mix for this race lead here once everything cycles around. You got the lap car of Cole Deaver here, and well, this is actually your battle for the race lead. Destin Boland, Charles Sanford. Then Benjamin Miles going to come out here with this group led by Dylan Young. These top two continue to race single or side by side here. They're going to get reeled in by that pack of 6 or 7 very, very quickly. But based off of that round of green flag pit stops, that says to me one more stop before this race is over. Question is, when do they make it? When is that pit stop going to take place? I think that we went roughly about 25 laps. So that would say to me somewhere in the lap 50 range is when these drivers will maybe have to make that final pit stop, as Charles Sanford starts putting a couple cars off the lead lap. Rob Evans was in a must-win situation. Samuel Ryder, same for him. This takes them out of the playoffs now, at least at this point in time. As we've got some two-car tandeming here. Will Hoer and Dylan Young trying to reel in Destin Boland and Charles Sanford. Dollarton's got Mitchell Collins, Gunther with Benjamin Miles. Cody Lamas trying to stay in touch as well. And the 88 of Jack Dunnard. Looks like those are the drivers right now that could potentially be up in this lead pack. Jose Mills has lost touch. He's back in 11th. Kyle Matthews has also lost touch, back in 12th. Turner 13th. Hendrickson 14th. Fogler in 15th. And Keith Batson right now in 16th, I believe, might be... I was going to say the last car in the lead lap. That's not true. Osborne, Bishop, and Fitzwater 17th through 19th. Ali Liera and Nathan Norman 20th and 21st. And they are the last drivers on the lead lap right now. Rob Evans, Samuel Ryder, Cole Deaver, James Qualls, Anthony McCurry all -1. Carson Gum is -2. And 27th, the last car running. Again, if you're just tuning in to today's regular season finale from Auto Club, we had a big wreck in the early stages of this race. Took out upwards of 14 drivers. Ended the playoff hopes of a number of different drivers here today. And we are keeping tabs on 2 drivers. The 88 of Jack Dunnard and the 89 of Quentin Moore, who is going to officially be finishing in 28th today. It's a question, it's 2 questions right now. The first question is, did Quentin Moore and that 28th position, was that enough to keep him in the top 30 in the point standings? The second question is, Jack Dunnard right now up in this lead pack with a chance of advancing into the playoffs via top 30 in the standings, as he was only 1 point behind 30th coming into this race. Does he still advance if we have a different winner go to victory lane today? The issue with that question, though, is nobody up in this lead pack, with the exception of Dylan Young, fits that scenario. Miles and Lamas, they're up here battling for this race win, absolutely, but a win will not advance them into the playoffs. They're too far back points-wise. Sanford and Dollarton and Will Hoer, Destin Boland, Nick Gunther, Mitchell Collins back there, they're all former winners. So they would not affect that scenario for Jack Dunnard. So right now, it is the 88 versus the 2. That's who Dunnard has to worry about right now. If Dylan Young wins, Dunnard might be out. Actually, hold on, I would actually go as far as to say, with Dunnard running where he is, if the 2 wins, the 89 might be out. Because Jack Dunnard, let's try and figure this out mathematically. Dunnard came into this race 15 points behind Quentin Moore. With Quentin Moore in 28th and Dunnard last time I crossed in 2nd, he needs to finish 16 positions ahead of the 89, which means he has to finish in 12th or better. Dunnard would then pass Quentin Moore in the point standings. That would put Quentin Moore on the hot seat, on the bubble seat. Now, we should also point this out. If I'm wrong, if Quentin Moore, who right now would be the 16th seed if he's in the top 30 in points, if he does not stay in the top 30 in points and another former winner goes to victory lane today, guess who's locked in? Points leader Matt Haas. So if the scenario is correct, as things run right now, it is the 2 of Dylan Young versus the 89 of Quentin Moore versus the 8 of Matt Haas as to who's going to advance into the final transfer spot in the playoffs. Dunnard, I believe, is in with where he's running right now. Quentin Moore, I believe, is, I think, inside the top 30 in points, but if he's not, then Matt Haas would be in via points. But if Dylan Young goes to victory lane, as he's up in this lead pack, then that knocks out, I believe, both the 89 and the 8. Still got 20 laps to go this next time by, so a lot can happen between now and that checkered flag. Still one more round of green flag pit stops yet to go, and Jack Dunnard hasn't yet finished inside the top 12. We've got 10 drivers up in this lead pack right now that are on the lead lap. So right now, the furthest he could finish, if he stays in this lead group, is 10th place, which would put him ahead of Quentin Moore points-wise. But we've got some traffic up here to deal with as well. And William Hoer in the Hershey's Ford Mustang, our winner from Las Vegas, is going to be the first one to encounter it. That's Ali Liera, our winner from Homestead. Nathan Ormond in the 34. Liera, we know, will battle for a championship this season. Nathan Ormond, however, going a lap down will not. He was in a must-win. 12th in overall point standings, though, for Nathan Ormond. Has had a very good year in his first season for KB Racing Enterprises, but looks like Keith Batson right now is the only driver out of that organization that will be battling for a championship. That's the interesting thing, too, right? The diversity of the teams that are going to be battling for the championship this season. You've got Fortnite Squad Racing. Their lone entry is going to be Nick Gunther as things stand right now. S3 Motorsports, they'll have 2 entries with Charles Samper and Kyle Matthews. Young Motorsports has RJ Bishop and Destin Bolin. Michael Norman Motorsports, they're going to be the only team with 3 entries. Michael Norman, Mitchell Collins, and Rick Johnson. Unless Chris Dollerton wins today, then they might have 4. Dollerton is in this lead pack still, so don't count that out yet. Evans Gardner Motorsports is going to have 2 entries with Fitzwater and Ali Liera. Blue Oval Automotive right now, only 1 entry with Will Hoer. And then Joanna Atwood Motorsports, the big question mark for them, Quentin Moore. Will he be in the playoffs or will he not? Northeast Motorsports, only 1 entry with Jack Dunnard as things stand right now. There is Dollerton, looking for the top spot. A lot of drivers ahead of Chris Dollerton DNF'd in this race, including Reggie Fogelman and Quentin Moore and Ryan Brommer. He wouldn't pass Dunnard in points. I don't know if he would pass Cole Deaver in points. Anthony McCurry is still out there running. Caleb Fogler's on the lead lap. Samuel Ryder, I believe, is still out there. Carson Gum is still out there, and so is Osborne. So that's a lot of drivers still running that I don't know if Chris Dollerton, with a second victory, if he would be able to advance up into the top 30 in points or not. But he's going to give it a heck of a try, as he is going to swing around the outside with Nick Gunther after they caught the slow car of Carson Gum. And is that the first lap of the day led by Nick Gunther? No. Nick has led 7 laps previously here in this one. Got a good battle going on here as well between the 2 3-time winners, Destin Bolin and Nick Gunther, both up in this lead pack because both would like to get their 4th win on the season and absolutely lock in that number 1 seed in the playoffs. Here's an interesting scenario. If Matt Haas does advance into the playoffs here via points, if all the stars align for him to be in the postseason, then we would end up having a 3-way tie for the number 1 seed if Nick Gunther and Destin Bolin do not win here today. There'd be 15 bonus points for Matt Haas for winning the regular season championship. There'd be 15 bonus points apiece for Nick Gunther and Destin Bolin, 5 points per win for them. That would be very interesting heading into our first playoff race next week. A lot of pressure there on Dylan Young, though, in the 2 car. He must win. If he wins, he's in. But we got pit stops coming up here, I think, in the next couple of laps. We're going to step aside for a quick commercial break. We'll be right back here to the action from Auto Club. Who's going to the postseason? Welcome you back here to the Auto Club Speedway, as we've got so many scenarios and storylines right now as to who's going to be advancing into the postseason, who is not. As Chris Dollerton out in front, encountering some lap traffic here, going to put McCrory, Deaver, and Qualls all a lap down. That's a second lap down for all 3 of those drivers, and we've got pit stops coming up here, closing in on 10 laps to go. Right now, 4 drivers are in the hunt for that final playoff position as things look right now. Chris Dollerton, but he must win. Dylan Young, but he must win. Jack Dunnard, but he must finish up inside the top 12. And Matt Haas, but he needs to have the 89 of Quentin Moore drop outside of the top 30 in the point standings. Quentin Moore out of the race in 28th position. We've run a streak of 5 races of drivers getting their first wins on the season. Mention the fact that they're not battling for the championship this year, regardless of if they win or not, but 25 of Benjamin Miles, the 13 of Cody Lamas. They could keep that streak going, as could the 2 of Dylan Young. Dylan's lost a little bit of touch here after he got trapped behind the 66 of Zachary Fitzwater. He and Cody Lamas trying to catch back up with that lead group. Don't want to lose touches. I just saw the 83 of William Hoer coming off of pit road. He was the first one on pit road during the first round of green flag pit stops. So pitting with 11 to go. We're going to see more drivers come down pit road here. Probably only going to have to take on a can of fuel, I would think, to make this final 10-lap stint. I think Sanford's got his hand out the window. He's coming down this time. No, he's not. He was running low, but no, he did not come to pit road. Mitchell Collins is in, though. Dylan Young. Fitzwater in as well. It's going to be an important pit stop for the 2 team. They've got to be up in that lead pack here in this final run to the finish if they're going to win their way into the playoffs. Looks like we can add some more names to the list of those that will not be in the postseason this year. Nathan Ormond, a lap down. Rob Evans, a lap down. James Qualls, 2 laps down. He was in a must-win situation. Deaver's 2 laps down. McCrory is 2 laps down. Ryder is 2 laps down. Carson Gummer, pole sitter, is 3 laps down as here comes a big group of drivers onto pit road. Lead lap and lap down cars alike. Charles Sanford going to lead them down here. Did Benjamin Miles stay out the extra lap like we've seen him do on the first round of green flag pit stops? Yep. And Dallerton stayed out with him in the 43. It's been very difficult to hold on to the race lead here today. Dallerton has led the most laps, so he would have that bonus point as well added to his total if he were to win to try and climb his way up into the top 30 in the point stands. He's led 10 laps so far today. As he's on pit road, going to be Benjamin Miles staying out yet another extra lap. Miles going to come around to lead his 7th lap of the day. 8 laps led by Nick Gunther, 7 as we just mentioned there by Benjamin Miles, as well as 7 by Destin Bolin. 6 laps led by Charles Sanford. 4 laps led by Kyle Matthews. 3 laps led by Cody Lamas, and then 1 lap led apiece by this list of drivers: Dylan Young, Mitchell Collins, RJ Bishop, Zachary Fitzwater, Ryan Butcher, and Dylan Poteet. Butcher and Poteet, however, out of the race, along with about 14 other drivers after we had that big wreck in the first 10 laps on the back straightaway, taking a whole host of drivers out of the race, including Quentin Moore, who right now is the big question mark in this whole scenario on whether he is still going to be in the top 30 in points at the conclusion of this race or not. If Dylan Young wins, Quentin Moore is out. If Quentin Moore is outside the top 30 in the point stands and a former winner goes to victory lane, then Matt Haas would be in via points. It's like Dallerton might have had himself a really good pit stop. I think he might be cycling around as the race leader. Nick Gunther right there with him, though. And then Cody Lamas, Dylan Young, Mitchell Collins. That's either going to be 3rd through 5th or 4th through 6th, depending on where the 25 of miles cycles around to. Here he is coming off pit road, trying to get up to speed as quickly as he can. I think Dallerton and Gunther will get him, but he might be able to slot into 3rd place. Yeah, they're going to slow up a bit behind Benjamin Miles, trying to get up to speed. That could be helpful for Dylan Young and Cody Lamas to catch back up here, along with Bolin and Collins is at the line this time. Lap 58 goes on the board. It gives us 6 laps to go here at Auto Club. Dallerton trying to make it 6 seasons in a row where the Daytona 500 winner advances into the playoffs. Looking for his 2nd win on the year. Dallerton has never had a multi-win season. He's got to hold off Benjamin Miles, who's got a big run on him. Oh, Miles instead decided to stay in line. He had a shot there, had some good momentum, but he stays in line with the 43 of Dallerton. Here comes Cody and Dylan and Destin. They've caught the draft of this top 3. Dylan Young, his playoff hope still alive here. Nick Gunther trying to play spoiler, trying to get his 4th win on the season for Mazda. Cody Lamas and Benjamin Miles looking for their first wins on the season, although it will not count towards a playoff spot. Destin Bolin right there as well. He and Nick Gunther trying to duke it out for who's going to get that 4th win on the year, get that number 1 seed in the playoffs. Mitchell Collins hanging back there. Jack Dunnard in the 88. I think Dunnard, he wants to win for sure, but I think he's going to be more than content with where he's at. He's 8th place. He's going to be in the top 30 in points. He'll be in the playoffs. Job well done for him here today. Slow car. Couple of slow cars. Carson Gum, Caleb Fogler. A little contact there between Cody and Carson. As Destin Bolin's going to try and take advantage. He'll try and go to the race lead. Oh, Dallerton got held up behind Carson Gum. That might effectively have taken him out of the playoff scenario. He was in a must-win. Still got some laps, though. He might be able to get back up here. But he's still stuck behind the 19. Now trying to go around the top side is the 43. He's going to be frustrated there. That's a couple of former Duracell Cup Series champions. Dallerton winning the championship in Season 1. Carson Gum the championship in Season 4. Dallerton just now clears him, but he's lost touch with the lead group. Destin Bolin now out in front. Trying to control the lanes, trying to control the draft. 2.5 laps down the back straightaway. Miles clears into 2nd. Nick Gunther and Dylan Young side by side for 3rd. Here comes Jack Dunnard in the 88. He was not in a must-win situation, but he certainly would love to get his second win on the season as a rookie. We've only got one other driver, that being Destin Bolin, who has multi-wins as a rookie this season, 3. All the other multi-time winners, Nick Gunther, Keith Batts, and Mitchell Collins, are grizzled veterans. Miles now, though, going to go to the top position. Keep an eye on that 2 car of Dylan Young. When does he make his move here? 1.5 laps to go down this back straightaway. The white flag will be displayed this time. Dylan Young needs to win to get into the playoffs. Here comes Gunther for the top spot on Benjamin Miles. Dylan Young's pulled down to the inside line there, right behind Cody Lamas. 1 lap to go, 2 miles. D Young going 3 wide for 3rd place on Cody. Can he make it work? He's in the draft of Nick Gunther. Gunther, Benjamin Miles, side by side for the lead. Dylan Young losing touch there. He doesn't have any drafting help on the back straightaway. Into 3 and 4. Nick Gunther on the bottom, trying to clear Benjamin Miles. He's going to slide up. Cody Lamas is going to take the opportunity. The door is open. Cody needs drafting help, though. Nick Gunther is going to win his 4th race of the season here at Auto Club. He'll take the number 1 seed into the playoffs. And now, 2 questions are answered. We know Dylan Young will not advance to the playoffs. We know that Chris Dollerton will not advance to the playoffs. It's going to be Matt Haas versus Quentin Moore. If Quentin Moore is in the top 30 in points because of Nick Gunther winning this race, Quentin Moore is in the postseason. But if Quentin Moore fell outside the top 30 in points, it would then fall to the highest driver in the point standings, which is Matt Haas, the points leader coming into this race. Maybe not necessarily leaving this race, but we'll have to wait and see on that. Who got the final playoff spot? But how about this Mazda team? Look at the tracks that Nick Gunther has gone to victory lane at this season. The road courses of Sonoma, and the Charlotte Roval, and then the 1.5 miles of Kentucky in back-to-back weeks between the Roval and Kentucky, and now at a 2-mile racetrack at Auto Club Speedway. And now, regardless of whether Matt Haas advances into the playoffs via points or not, he and Destin Bolin will be tied for the number 2 seed, because Nick Gunther has taken the number 1 seed with his 4th victory on the season, his 5th victory of his career. We have never in the history of the Duracell Cup Series had a 4-time winner. This is more history being made for Nick Gunther and the Mazda project out of Fortnite Squad Racing. 47 1,000ths of a second was the gap there at the line. Cody Lamas so close to picking up that win. But a great showing there for Cody and Benjamin Miles. Podium finishes for both of those drivers. Miles finally gets his first top 5 of the season, so Jose Mills is the lone man out. He's the only driver that doesn't have a top 5 yet out of the 42 drivers that have taken a green flag this season. Destin Bolin brings home in 4th. Jack Donner, I cannot say enough about this 88 car here today. He was outside the top 30 in points by 1 point coming into this race. He did get involved in that wreck in the opening stages of this race, but he didn't get that much damage. He soldiered on. He's going to finish 5th. He is inside the top 35 in the point standings. Our Phoenix winner will battle for a championship this year. Dylan Young so close. He tried to make that 3-wide move into turn 1 for 3rd place to maybe be up there, maybe make it 3 wide for the race lead going into turn 3, but he just didn't have the drafting help down the back straightaway. Chris Dollerton gave it a yeoman's job here today as well, led the most laps, was in a must-win situation to advance into the top 30 in the point standings. But Dylan Young, Chris Dollerton, they're going to fail to make it in, unfortunately. First time ever in Duracell Cup Series history that a Daytona 500 winner will not be battling for the championship in the same season. Mitchell Collins going to bring it home, solid run in 8th. Charles Sanford 9th. William Hoer in 10th. Kyle Matthews in 11th. All those drivers doing what they need to do to stay up inside the top 30 in points. They will all battle for a championship this year. Jose Mills finished in 12th place. He'll not be in the championship picture. Neither will Jesse Turner. Neither will Noah Hendrickson, though they all get top 15 finishes today. And Caleb Fogler was the first car to finish a lap down, completing the top 15. We know that Fitzwater, RJ Bishop, Ali Liera, they'll be in the playoffs. Keith Batson will be in the playoffs. And despite being out of the race, we know Ryan Butcher and Michael Norman, and Rick Johnson, and Laura Chung. They will, I believe, be in the playoffs. Although, Laura Chung, that's one we're going to have to kind of wait and see on as well, right? I just noticed she was 25th in points. She was 19 points ahead of the cut line. Let's see if some of the drivers around her in the point standings, if they didn't have the best of runs. Rob Evans finished 20 positions ahead of her. He would have passed her in points. Dylan Poteet finished 9 points ahead of her. He would have passed her in the point standings. Quentin Moore, he finished 28th. He would have passed her in points. Reggie Fogelman was 12 positions ahead in finishing results. He would have, was it 18 points? No, he would not have passed her. He would have been 6 points behind her. Ryan Brommer, he finished 34th. He would not have passed her. Jack Dunnard might have passed her, though. Cole Deaver, I don't know if he would have passed her. Anthony McCurry, Caleb Fogler. This is going to be close. It's going to be really close. Okay, so hold on. Let's just quickly do a little scenario here, because we're going to get the official word afterwards, but I'm just trying to work out some stuff in my head. If Quentin Moore falls out, that moves Matt Haas in. If Laura Chung falls out, then who gets the final spot on points? Then it would have to be James Qualls, right? Qualls going to finish this race in 24th, but the next highest in point standings to him was Nathan Ormond, who finishes 16th. That's 8 points separation, 8 positions separation. Ormond was about 42 points behind Qualls, so yeah, Qualls would be in. Oh, man. So if Quentin Moore is out, Matt Haas is in. If Laura Chung is out, James Qualls is in. Who's in? Who's out? I don't know. I do not know. Those final 2 spots in points is going to be so crucial. With guaranteed assuredness, though, the drivers we do know will battle for the championship: Gunther, Bolin, Batson, Collins, Norman, Sanford, Butcher, Fitzwater, Liera, Bishop, Howard, Johnson, and Matthews. We know those drivers for absolute certainty. But who else? Who else is going to be in the playoffs? Oh boy, we're about to find out in just a few moments. Don't go anywhere, folks. Your playoff grid is about to be announced in just a few moments. Congratulations, Nick Gunther, on the victory here today. His 4th win on the season. This Mazda team is firing on all cylinders. They may be the team to watch to battle for this championship. They may be the favorite going in. But if you enjoyed today's regular season finale from Auto Club, be sure to give me a like, subscribe, become part of the crew today. We showed you full feature results. You're looking at your point stands, and in a moment, the announcement will be made of your 16 playoff drivers, as next week, the playoffs begin at a debuting racetrack. It's Gateway Raceway, then Chatham, then Nashville Superspeedway for the first round of the Season 6 Duracell Cup Series chase for the championship. Until then, I've been Seth Cole. The playoffs have begun here in the Duracell Cup Series, as you've been watching the broadcast courtesy of NNSCRA TV. Offline racing at its best. Alright folks, it is time to introduce you now to the 16 drivers that will battle in the Season 6 Duracell Cup Series chase for the championship, as we kick things off with the driver that's going to have the number 1 seed, 4-time winner on the year, victories at Sonoma, Charlotte Roval, Kentucky Speedway, and just recently today at the Auto Club Speedway. Not only that, but he jumped up 5 points over Matt Haas as the regular season champion, so there's going to be a total of 35 bonus points heading the way of the Mazda project at a Fortnite Squad Racing. Nick Gunther will be the number 1 seed going into these playoffs. Number 2 seed was already established as well. 3-time winner on the season, rookie out of Young Motorsports, victories at the Dodge Motordrome, Chicagoland Speedway, and the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Destin Bolin will make his first playoffs appearance. Then we go to the drivers that have multiple wins, 2 trips to victory lane. We kick things off first. The number 3 seed will go to Keith Batson. He finishes 11th in overall point standings here this year. His victories at Darlington Raceway and later on at New Hampshire Motor Speedway lock him into what I believe is his 2nd playoff appearance. And Mitchell Collins will take the number 4 seed, as he was 16th in overall point standings, the 2-time winner with victories at Manassas and Iowa. We then go to the 1-time winners, single wins on the season. First of those, number 5 seed, going to go to Michael Norman, who will finish 3rd in overall point standings. It was his victory at M&M Super Speedway that secured himself a spot in this season's playoffs. Right behind him, 4th in overall point standings, Charles Sanford, with his victory at the Atlanta Motor Speedway just a few weeks ago. Another rookie will make his first career appearance in the playoffs. That's 5th in overall point standings, Zachary Fitzwater. His victory back at the Art of Bricks Indianapolis Motor Speedway locks him into the postseason. And Ryan Butcher, who went to victory lane last week at Bristol Dirt, that victory and 6th in overall point standings. He is going to be the number 8 seed, I do believe. Number 7 seed. No, number 8 seed. You guys are looking at it. I'm not. I'm trying to go off this just visibly. Ali Liera with her victory back at Homestead Miami Speedway. She's going to be in the number 9 seed as she is 8th in overall point standings and is locked in as the 2nd entry out of the Evans Gardner Motorsports. I believe, I'd have to check back on this, but I believe this is Ali Liera's first appearance in the playoffs. I can't remember if back when she had that victory at Dover in Season 2, if she was in the postseason or not. This is either her first or second playoff appearance. And then in the 10th seed is going to be R.J. Bishop. He got his first win of his career back at the Chicago Motor Speedway. He finishes the regular season 9th in overall point standings. 11th seed is going to go to another rookie. His first playoff appearance out of Blue Oval Automotive. Won very early on in the season at Las Vegas. Will Howard finishes 14th in overall point standings and takes the number 11 seed. Number 12 seed is going to go to one of the defending champions of the series, the 2nd entry out of S3 Motorsports, Kyle Matthews. 21st in overall point standings, but had that victory back at Coke Zero Super Speedway. Keep the rookies coming for their first playoff appearances as the number 13 seed is going to go to Rick Johnson out of Michael Norman Motorsports. His victory at Texas Motor Speedway and 23rd in overall point standings makes him the 3rd entry out of Michael Norman Motorsports to battle for the championship this season. The number 14 seed, we talked about him an awful lot here today. Jack Dunnar did what he needed to do, finished up inside of the top 10. His victory at Phoenix and officially 25th in overall regular season standings. He will be battling for a playoff or a championship this season. The only entry this year out of Northeast Motorsports. There's a big question mark. Quentin Moore, was 28th position in the standings enough? It was. The 15th seed going to go to Quentin Moore, who actually gained a couple of spots in the point standings over others that DNF'd in that race. He's going to have his victory at Dover count towards his first playoff berth. He will be the only driver out of Joanna Atwood Motorsports this season that will battle for a championship, because the final 16th seed is going to go to another driver making their very first playoff appearance. She got her first career win just a few weeks ago at Watkins Glen. Laura Chung is going to be the 2nd entry out of Auto Junction Racing that will battle for a championship here this season. She finishes 29th in overall point standings. She was 6 points above 30th in the standings at the conclusion of the Auto Club race. And those are your 16 drivers, all former race winners that will battle for the championship here this season. Congratulations to our playoff contenders. Best of luck next week at Gateway Raceway. We'll see you guys there. Again, you've been watching another broadcast of NNSCRA TV offline racing at its best. The playoffs have begun in Duracell Cup Series competition.